we learned how to say where we're going.
Yes, to say I go, for example.
Bonjour Estelle.
Salut, Paul.
In earlier lessons, we learned how to say where we're going.
Yes, to say I go, for example, we use je vais, like in je vais à l'aéroport.
Let's hear a quick example.
Salut Étienne.
Salut Lisa, tu vas au restaurant?
Oui, je vais au restaurant.
So she's going to the restaurant. But what would she say if she was not going to the restaurant?
Well, to say I'm not going, it's je ne vais pas.
Yes, je ne vais pas. In French, not is made up of two words, ne and pas. Ne comes before the verb and pas comes after it.
Like in je ne vais pas. In this case, the verb is vais, and you can hear it sandwiched between ne and pas. Je ne vais pas.
Ne pas. Je ne vais pas.
Give it a try. Repeat after ne. Pas. Je ne vais pas. Je ne vais pas au restaurant.
So, what are some other situations where we could use ne and pas?
Well, basically, we can use ne and pas with any verb. Remember when we learned to say the bathrooms are here?
How could I forget? It's les toilettes sont ici.
Exactly. Now let's say your friend asks you if the bathrooms are here, but they're not, and you have no clue where they are. How would you say the bathrooms are not here?
Something you never want to hear. It's les toilettes ne sont pas ici.
You got it. Again, you can hear that the verb sont is sandwiched between ne and pas. Les toilettes ne sont pas ici. The bathrooms are not here.
And did you hear the liaison between the last two words there? Pas ici. Les toilettes ne sont pas ici.
Excusez-moi, les toilettes sont ici?
Non, les toilettes ne sont pas ici.
Let's try it. Repeat after me. Les toilettes sont. Les toilettes ne sont pas. Les toilettes ne sont pas ici. We can also use ne and pas with the phrase ça va.
Yes, you probably remember that ça va means it's going well. But we all have bad days, and sometimes we'll need to say that things are not going well.
Right, so instead of ça va, we'd say ça ne va pas.
Ça ne va pas.
Let's hear another example, but this time things are not going so well.
Salut Lisa,
Salut Jacques.
ça va?
Non, ça ne va pas.
Okay, your turn. Repeat after me. Ne va. Ne va pas. Ça ne va pas. Non, ça ne va pas. Now you know how to say you're not doing something with ne and pas. For example, je ne vais pas au restaurant.
And you know how to say things are not going very well with ça ne va pas. But hopefully you don't have to say that too often.
We'll talk about more examples with ne and pas in our next lesson. Last time we learned how to say we're not doing something using ne and pas.
Let's hear it from our French speakers.
Salut Antoine, tu vas au restaurant?
Non, je ne vais pas au restaurant.
As we talked about in the last lesson, you can use ne and pas in many situations.
Yeah, this would come in handy when talking about languages someone speaks or doesn't speak.
For example, while traveling, you might want to ask if another person speaks English. In French, you'd ask, Vous parlez anglais?
We know that first word, vous, which means you.
And the last word, anglais, means English, like in Je suis anglais.
But what about the middle word, parler?
Parler means speak. So, vous parlez anglais means you speak English. But we can also use it to say, do you speak English? Vous parlez anglais?
Exactly. You can also hear the same sound in parler that you hear in Paris or parfait. Parler. Vous parlez anglais?
Parler. Vous parlez anglais?
Let's hear an example.
Excusez-moi, vous parlez anglais?
Oui.
Okay,
La
your
zéro.
turn. Repeat after me. Parler. Vous parlez. Vous parlez anglais?
白白
Bye.
To answer vous parlez anglais, we could
Bye.
say je parle
Bye.
anglais or I speak English. Je parle anglais.
Je.
五
Ou.
Je parle. Je
Ou.
parle anglais.
九
Let's listen
Joe.
to another example.
九
Joe. Excusez-moi,
Joe.
vous parlez anglais?
Oui, je parle anglais.
Time for
九
you to practice. Repeat
Joe.
after me. Parle.
五
Ou.
Je parle.
木日
Je parle
Bye.
anglais.
Bye.
Now imagine you're sightseeing in another
Bye.
country and someone asks if
Bye.
you speak French or français.
五
They would ask, Vous
Ou.
parlez français?
九
Vous parlez français?
Joe.
And you could respond with
Yuan.
Je parle français.
Yuan.
Je parle
She.
français.
But maybe
She.
someone hasn't been keeping up with our
Yuan.
lessons and they're not
She.
as comfortable speaking French.
Yes, so they could say that they don't speak
50
French.
元
Or,
Ou.
Je ne
Shi
parle pas
yuan.
français.
That's right. Je ne parle pas français.
Ou. Shi yuan.
Your turn again. Repeat after me. Je parle français.
零九
Joe.
Je ne parle pas français.
八
Ba.
五
Ou.
百
Bye. Excusez-moi, vous parlez anglais?
Non, je ne parle pas anglais.
Let's talk more about the difference between je parle, I speak, and vous parlez, you speak.
The verb in this case, speak, sounds different if you're using je or vous.
Je parle. Vous parlez.
Parle. Parler.
Okay, ready to speak some more? Repeat after me. Je ne parle pas. Vous ne parlez pas. Now let's keep this in mind while we listen to our French speakers again.
Monsieur Wilson,
Oui?
vous parlez anglais?
Non, je ne parle pas anglais.
Oh, vous ne parlez pas anglais?
Non, je parle français.
So why was the woman surprised?
Well, it turns out Mr. Wilson doesn't speak English, but he does speak French.
Now we know a few more situations where we could use ne and pas.
And we'll learn even more in our next lesson.
In our last lesson, we learned how to say that we do or don't speak a language.
For example, to say, I speak English, it's je parle anglais.
But if I didn't speak English, I would say, je ne parle pas anglais.
Let's hear an example.
Excusez-moi, vous parlez anglais?
Non, je ne parle pas anglais.
While you're traveling, knowing how to ask someone if they speak a language is really useful.
Let's talk about some other things you might need to ask while you're visiting another country.
Well, if you're staying in un hôtel, you might need to ask the staff for help.
But first, you need to make sure you're talking to someone who actually works à l'hôtel.
Yes, it could be kind of rude to just assume someone works there.
So you'll want to ask, do you work here? Or vous travaillez ici?
Yes. Vous travaillez ici? Let's break this down. Because you've probably never met this person before, you need to use vous.
And then we have ici, or here. But what about travailler?
Travailler means work. So when we ask, vous travaillez ici? We're saying, do you work here?
Vous travaillez ici? The other person may say je travaille ici, meaning I work here. Notice the difference between the two. Je travaille ici. Vous travaillez ici.
Just like in our last lesson when we talked about je parle and vous parlez, the verb sounds different depending on whether you're using je or vous. Listen again for the difference. Je travaille, vous travaillez.
Travail. Travailler. Let's hear an example from our French speakers.
Excusez-moi, vous travaillez ici?
Oui, je travaille ici.
Okay, let's practice. Repeat after me. Je travaille. Vous travaillez.
Excusez-moi, les toilettes sont à droite?
Oh, je ne travaille pas ici, madame.
So where did the man say the bathrooms are?
Well, he said, je ne travaille pas ici. He doesn't even work there.
It sounds like the woman should have asked, vous travaillez ici first.
Definitely. So if you make a faux pas, like when the woman assumed that a random stranger worked at the hotel, you can say, pardon.
Pardon. It has the same meaning as pardon in English. Basically just sorry or excuse me. You can use this whenever you need to apologize for a small mistake or misunderstanding.
And even though it sounds like the English word pardon, you say it a little differently. In French, we use the same on sound that you hear in bon. Pardon.
Pardon.
Let's hear it.
Oh, vous ne travaillez pas ici, pardon.
Your turn again. Repeat after me. Pardon. One more phrase that is very good to know is d'accord. It literally means agreed, but it's often used to say all right or okay.
For example, if someone helps you out, say d'accord to show that you understand.
Let's hear an example of this.
Excusez-moi, vous travaillez ici?
Oui.
Où sont les toilettes, s'il vous plaît?
Oh, les toilettes sont là, à droite.
Ah, d'accord, merci.
Now you try. Repeat after me. D'accord. Okay, it's time to hear everything we've learned in the past few lessons in one conversation.
Excusez-moi, vous parlez anglais?
Non,
Ah, où sont les toilettes?
je ne travaille pas ici.
Oh, pardon, au revoir. Excusez-moi, vous travaillez ici?
Oui,
Où sont les toilettes?
là, à droite.
Ah, d'accord, merci.
I'm so happy that the woman finally found out where the bathrooms are.
I know. I was on the edge of my seat.
Hopefully, you've learned a lot of phrases that will help you when traveling.
Be sure to come back for our next lesson.
We'll see you soon. Au revoir.
À bientôt. So far, we've learned how to use ne and pas to say that we aren't doing something.
Right. In this lesson, we're going to mix things up a little bit. We're going to play a little game to help you remember what we just learned.
It'll go like this. Estelle will say a sentence in French, and then you'll have to say the opposite using ne and pas.
Let's do an example. I'll say, Je parle français. Now it's your turn. Paul, say, I don't speak French.
Je ne parle pas français.
Not too hard, right?
Not at all. So it's your turn now. Remember, Estelle will say a sentence in French, and after the bell, you'll say the opposite using ne and pas. Are you ready? Let's get started.
Je parle français. Parfait. Je ne parle pas français.
Are you getting the hang of it? Let's try another one.
Je travaille ici.
Excellent. Je ne travaille pas ici. Okay, here's another.
Je vais à New York. Très bien. Je ne vais pas à New York. Let's keep going and try one that we haven't talked about in our other lessons.
Oh, a challenge is always fun.
Je suis français.
Très bien, je ne suis pas français.
Let's try one more. Un café coûte 1 euro. Parfait. Un café ne coûte pas 1 euro. You did it. You made it to the end of our game.
And got a bunch of practice using ne and pas.
We'll see you again for a new lesson. À bientôt.